Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Greetings, everyone. Mkhonto Wesizwe Party rises to give a brutally honest analysis of Budget Vote 9 of the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. Chairperson, South Africans are tired of sophisticated plans, endless reports and technical language that changes absolutely nothing in their daily lives. This department receives more than 533 million. Yet nearly half of that budget, some 46% goes to Program 1 administration. Almost 74% of the total budget goes to compensation of employees. Yet despite this enormous bureaucracy, the department itself admits that monitoring findings are not translating into corrective government actions. Chairperson, that is the clearest admission that this department in its current form is failing dismally. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation was supposed to be the government's Rottweiler, an institution that bites when departments fail, when municipalities collapse, when targets are missed, and when corruption destroys service delivery. Instead, it has become a toothless poodle. Why? Because it has no meaningful enforcement powers. Minister admits this, but they do nothing about it. It can monitor failure, it can monitor all these kinds of things, it can evaluate collapse, it can compile reports, but it cannot compel consequences. And whenever Parliament raises this problem, the standard and tired answer is always, we're developing a white paper, we're considering legislation, we are consulting stakeholders. Chairperson, South Africans cannot eat consultation processes. After years of discussion, this department still lacks the legislative teeth required to force accountability across government. That is why municipalities continue collapsing while reports are written about their collapse. Chairperson, we now turn to the state-owned enterprise holding company. The MKA party warns this House that South Africa risks creating more than a centralized mega structure for looting, white-collar crime, procurement manipulation, and a feeding trough for connected private sector players. We are told this company will improve governance. We reject that blindly optimistic assumption. What usually happens in South Africa when government creates another large centralized entity with weak accountability measures and concentrated procurement powers, what you usually get is a feeding trough. Instead of simplifying governance, this model risks creating yet another expensive bureaucratic layer between government and operational entities, another board structure, another executive layer, another procurement ecosystem, another opportunity for politically connected networks to capture public resources. It's a mess. Chairperson, there is another serious governance contradiction here. The minister responsible for planning, monitoring, and evaluation will effectively become the executive authority over the public enterprises by another name. You know, they told us that DPME is dead. There's no DPME is dead, it's back. She'll be heading this new old province department while simultaneously acting as government's monitor and evaluator. In simple terms, the same ministry becomes both player and referee. How can a department objectively monitor and evaluate SOE performance when it is politically and administratively embedded in the same governance architecture it is supposed to oversee? How is that possible? This is a direct conflict of institutional responsibility. This should be obvious. The MKA party asks a simple question. Why is the government overcomplicating this matter? Why can line function department not simply assume full political and policy responsibility for SOEs within their sector? South Africa already has examples where this works. Under Minister Gwede Mantashe, the Department of Minerals, Petroleum Resources, and Petroleum Resources, that department oversees entities and strategic functions linked to multi-billion rand industries without the need of a giant centralized holding company. Why not just do just that? The same principle can apply elsewhere. Transport entities should fall under transport. Energy entities should fall under energy. Why is this complicated? Water entities must fall under water affairs. Defense industries under defense. That creates direct accountability. When rail collapses, Transport Ministry must answer. When electricity fails, Energy Ministry must answer. When ports fail, there should be no confusion about where political responsibility lies. But under the proposed holding company structure, accountability becomes diluted across boards, holding companies, departments, overlapping. It's just a mangle mush. Chairperson, the MK party supports capable and strategic state ownership. But ownership without accountability becomes organized chaos. And the truth is this. South Africans are being asked to trust a new SOE superstructure while existing SOEs remain in severe crisis. Transnet cannot efficiently move freight. PRASA remains dysfunctional in major cities. Economic losses continue mounting because of operational collapse. At the same time, let's pause and acknowledge that Eskom under Mr. Delmarukane has shown measurable operational improvement in reducing load shedding, stabilizing generation, and so on. That African engineer with quiet competence deserves praises, full stop. He cleaned up the derater hot mess. Chairperson, we also note with concern continued use of consultants in a department already dominated by personnel expenditure. Parliament itself has raised concern about consultant costs and outsourcing. The MK party supports a full disclosure of all consultant expenditure and a moratorium on unnecessary outsourcing until government proves existing officials cannot perform those functions. We further reject the irrational sequencing restructuring of the department, while the white paper and its legislative framework remain incomplete. Surely, if you know what you're doing, you cannot redesign an institution before finalizing the policy architecture that governs them. But here we are. Chairperson, the deeper crisis facing this department is not a shortage of reports. They have reports about reports, evaluations about evaluations, monitoring about monitoring. What is absent is strategic vision and political courage. South Africa does not suffer from lack of planning documents. It suffers from a lack of enforcement, consequence, and accountability. Until this department receives legislative authority to compel corrective action across government, it will remain exactly where it is today, a toothless poodle, a department that watches failure without a power to stop it. People of South Africa did not send MK Party here to supervise paperwork. They sent us here to remove incompetence, remove thieves, remove constitutional delinquents at the union building. The MK Party is ready to deliver. As we vehemently reject this budget, we call on people of South Africa to vote for the MK Party on the 4th of November. Mandla!